Hello and welcome to Able United's webinar on how to make the most out of your Able United account. I'm so grateful that you took some time this morning to come and join our webinar. I'm joined with Doug Magnolia, who is the CEO of Someday Administration. So if you have an Able United account and you log in, that whole back system that you see when you log in, that user interface is Someday. So thank you, Doug, for joining us today.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Wonderful. I also have Rachel Fackender. She will occasionally pipe in when there's questions. So that takes me to the next slide here is how do you ask questions? And so you will see on the GoToWebinar panel, hopefully on your screen, there is a box that says questions. There, feel free to go ahead and ask questions throughout the presentation, and we'll answer those at the end or, if appropriate, during the actual webinar. And so before we get started, and really wanted to highlight this, just to give everybody a heads up in case you have not heard, Able United does currently have a summer promotion going on for all new account holders that enroll in an account by the end of tomorrow. If they open their account and contribute that minimum $25, we will contribute $50 on your behalf as part of our summer promotion. So that ends July 31st, that is tomorrow. So if you don't have an account yet and you're on here, hopefully we'll educate you, make you aware of what an Able United account offers, and then you can open an account and receive that $50 promotion. And just give everybody a few minutes as they're starting to join. I'll throw out a poll here real fast just to get a familiarity of how many people are familiar with Able United. Maybe this is the first time you heard about the program, or maybe you're a current account holder and you've been with us for the last 3 years. Just get an idea of who all we have online today, and that'll kind of help us gear some of my overview introduction to Able United and how detailed we need to be there. So I'll give everybody a few more seconds here to answer this poll question. All right, give everybody a few more moments. Perfect. I'm going to close that. And let me share the results so we can see who we have online here. As you can see, we have a good mix of individuals on. You know, a third of you are very familiar. Some of you are somewhat familiar, and there's some that you're hearing about this for the first time. That's great. So thank you for sharing those results. So kind of give you an overview of what to expect on today's webinar. We will do a very high-level overview of the Able United program. You should get enough information of why, what an Able account is, how it could benefit you or an individual, a loved one, or even a client you might serve. And then we'll actually turn this over to Doug, and he's going to walk through what it looks like managing your account. You'll see some of the screens and get a very live demo of how you manage an account and some of the neat features that we've been able to launch since we've moved over to Someday Administration. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on what is an Able account? What are Able United accounts? So high level, this is the elevator pitch of what an Able account is. It is a tax-free savings and investment account established to support disability expenses while maintaining government benefits. And we have this little catchphrase, save like never before. This truly is a unique program and account that was created that took 10 years plus of advocacy work from families and individuals with disabilities to be able to create this program and these types of accounts. And we'll kind of dig into each one of these little parts of this, what an Able account is. So what can an Able United account do for you? And like I said, it's this whole idea of saving like never before, because there really wasn't a vehicle to be able to save and not impact government benefits. So that's one of the big advantages, save while maintaining federal benefits. Next, you could save with the help of family and friends. And so we'll talk briefly about how family and friends contribute to an Able account, and then that account is income to you. So that's a great way to have family help out and not impact your government benefits. We'll talk a little bit about saving tax-free, that the money in these accounts can grow, and if they're used for qualified future disability expenses, that the earnings portion of that withdrawal doesn't count as income, and it's tax-free. We'll touch a little bit about our FDIC option as well as our other various investments and saving options. We'll see as Doug goes through his part of the presentation, and you kind of get a feel of the Someday platform. We'll show you on the gifting and how that works. And just high level, who is Able United? We get that question a lot when we do these types of presentations. We are a program that's administered by the Florida Prepaid College Board. So we are run by the state of Florida. And so the same entity that runs the 529 and Florida Prepaid program also oversees Able United. So let's dig into it. Why an Able account? What is the whole purpose of establishing a tax advantage savings account? Well, the purpose of an account is you're going to be using these accounts to save for future qualified disability expenses. And as you can see on here, the Treasury provided 13 broad categories, including health, education, legal fees, financial management, even future needs. You think of assistive technology, going back to work, employment training support, and even funeral and burial. In the Treasury, really the only example they gave us was, let's say you have an individual who's autistic and needs help navigating the community as well as being able to reach out to people in need and needs some kind of technology to do that, and he had a cell phone and a cell phone plan to make him more independent. Well, that would be a qualified disability expenses. They even stated that it includes basic living expenses. So think of food or clothing. Money in this account could be used for that and it count as a qualified disability expenses. Also, the qualified disability expenses are not required to be medically necessary or to be limited for the sole benefit of the individual with a disability. Often I tell people it's easier to say probably what's not qualified would be alcohol, drugs, anything that's illegal, and giving the money away are some examples of what a non-qualified disability expense is. And there's no approval when you have an expense. You're not proving it to us here at Able United, but we ask that you do keep your records in case the IRS or Social Security Administration ask what you're using these funds for. Now let's talk a little bit about the one of the biggest advantages is that money in this account does not impact government benefits. And so we have probably a handful of people online that are saying, well, what if I'm receiving Medicaid? You know, Medicaid has strict rules on how much money you can set aside, and usually that's $2,000. And anything above that could impact your eligibility for Medicaid. The great news is that funds in an Able account or even withdrawn from an Able account are generally disregarded when determining eligibility for Medicaid. So that's a key factor. And also, just to let you all know, that thanks to the passage of a recent piece of legislation here in Florida, if a beneficiary passes away and they're on Medicaid, after all qualified disability expenses are paid, those funds would go to the estate of the beneficiary. And so that's good to know that the state at this time is not able to file a claim for any leftover funds in an Able account. And please note that if the state is still subject to Medicaid state recovery, then they would go through that process. That's a key fee to know. But once again, if you have money in Able account, Medicaid's not looking at the funds in this account at all. But what if you're receiving supplemental security income? Now, this is that Social Security benefit that individuals with varying disabilities could take advantage of that pays a monthly rate up to, I think, $770 or so a month, depending on your need. And what if you're receiving that and you qualify for an Able account? How does Social Security look at this? Once again, generally funds in or withdrawn from an Able account are not considered a resource when determining eligibility for supplemental security income, SSI. Now, there are a couple of rules along with this, and Social Security did a really good job on their program operation manual on their website, and you can see the link here on this website, or if you just go to your preferred search engine and type in Social Security or SSA and Able account, you'll probably find this. But basically, the two biggest rules are the first $100,000 in an Able account does not count as a resource for that towards that $2,000 resource limit. So it's a great way to put money aside and save for qualified disability expenses. But once you get to that $100,000, anything above that will count towards that resource limit. Also, if you're using this account for housing-related expenses or non-qualified expenses, if you take those out and you spend them in the same month, or retain them past the end of the month, that will count as a resource. So for example, let's say we're getting close to July 31, I'm going to go ahead and take money out of my ABLE account now for housing, and I'm just going to hold it in my account till August 3rd. Well, if I'm on SSI, Social Security is going to say, okay, yes, that is a housing-related qualified expense, but since you took the money out in July and you retained it through the end of the month to the beginning of the next month, we're going to count that as a resource. So make sure you're just timely with how you pay your bills out of an ABLE account to make sure that you're not in a situation where if you're on SSI and you're using this for housing related, that it doesn't impact your SSI. So now we kind of get a high-level overview of what an ABLE account is, what are the benefits of it, that being government benefits and family can be able to contribute to it. Let's talk a little bit about who can open an account. So the lady you have on the screen right now, this is Christine Rudd. She is actually one of our ABLE account brand ambassadors. She has an ABLE account, and so you probably might have seen some digital, or if you've been on our website or our Facebook page, you've probably seen Miss Christine, who has an ABLE United account. But let's talk about who's eligible. So eligible individuals, just to note that you can only have one ABLE account nationwide, and we have 3 requirements here for ABLE United. One being specific to our program is that you have to be a Florida resident, and that is we are a Florida-run program, and so at this time we're limited to just Florida residents at the time of application. The next 2 are true for all ABLE programs. One is that the disability had to have an onset prior to age 26, and the disability has to be severe. So what does that mean? If you're on SSI or SSDI because your disability and your disability occurred prior to age 26, then you would qualify for an ABLE account. But if you don't, you would have to self-certify that you have a disability that's severe enough to meet the Social Security requirements for SSI or SSDI, but regardless of the age. So you have kind of some bullet points to be aware of. So if you have a diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment prior to age 26, that disability is marked severe with functional limitations and is expected to last at least 12 months. And if you're in that situation, we do make available on our website a physician form that you can use, take to your doctor, have them fill out in case the IRS was to request this. You would have that documentation if you currently don't have documentation available. So that's all online. Who owns the account? This is also unique. So the individual with the disability is the owner of the ABLE account. And so we know that in some situations that person may not be able to open or maintain their account. Maybe they're a child, or if they're an adult, but might not have the skills to manage their account. A parent, legal guardian, or power of attorney, somebody that has some kind of a legal authority can open the account on their behalf. So if it's an adult beneficiary, for example, you're going to have to submit some kind of proof other than a parent of a minor. And you'll actually upload that documentation, whether it's a power of attorney form or guardianship papers, on the Someday platform when you as you finish the application process. And it's also good to know, like I stated earlier, only one ABLE account per qualified individual. All right, so that is a very, like I said, quick high level, but I would like to pause right now and get back with Rachel to see if there's any questions specific to just general program knowledge before I turn this over to Doug. Rachel, do we have any questions?
Hi, John. Yes, we do have one question, but you might want to wait until Doug comes on, and that is regarding the ABLE United reloadable prepaid card and when that is happening.
All right, yeah, that's a good question, and we will hold off on that. And if Doug gets through his presentation, maybe he can shed a little light on what's coming up for ABLE United. So at this time, Doug, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you and let you kind of run over a demo of the program and let you take over.
Great, thanks, John. All right. Okay. So hopefully everybody should see the kind of Able United homepage. I'm just in my web browser, which is Google Chrome. John, so thanks very much, and everybody, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We think these programs are such a great tool for this community, and John, thanks for your really clear and concise description of what can seem to be a fairly complicated program, but it really is fairly straightforward as you get through it, and I think that's partly how we've thought about developing the Someday platform to be simple, easy to use, and fairly clear, and take the complex and make it simple. So typically, I'm sure most people have probably come to this homepage, and I think across the board you can find all sorts of general information about the program, the different advantages. You can go through this little eligibility wizard and kind of go through some of the items that John covered previously. You can actually go through the enrollment, a lot of FAQs. There's information particularly about the promotion, which, as John mentioned, is coming to a rapid close. So if you haven't taken advantage of that and you're interested in opening up an account, I would highly recommend you do so. It's a great bonus from the state. And all the information about the different partners, so the investment providers, ourselves, and a lot of the forms, publications, news, and updates are down at the bottom. But if you're ready to open an account, you can click on the Open an Account button. That will give you a little information about us, that we're the program manager for the program, working on behalf of the state. And then it'll take you to the kind of main site to actually start your registration. And here you'll commence that process. If you've already have an account, you can also either bookmark either the Able United homepage and click on the Sign In button up here on the right, and it just gives you an opportunity to log in, or you can bookmark this page. And so I could go up to my bookmarks bar in Google, for example, and bookmark this page, and then I'd have a button up here that would show Able United. And then next time I want to log in, I can just kind of quickly come here. This is the actual production site, so I'm not going to log in there because I don't have an account, but I do have a demo account. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to sign in through the demo. And so I have put in my email address. And my password. And I'll just sign in. So sometimes you may get this if it's your first time signing in on a particular device. Sometimes people log in from their desktop at home, or maybe from a phone or a tablet. And so this is a security precaution. So I'm on a new device here on my computer at work. So I'm going to send a text message. And so I'll get a text message on my phone with a code. And then I'll just have to put that code in right here. And this is just to verify that I am who I say I am. It acts as fraud detection. So I can click Remember Me on this device, and then I won't be asked for that code again for at least a 90-day period. We clear out those codes every 90 days, again, more for fraud prevention as a mechanism to prevent fraud and help protect people. So you might see that at some point later, but if you do check that button, at least for a 90-day period, you won't be asked that again. So sorry, this is a little bit slow with the demo system. So here it takes me to my dashboard. This is my kind of home page. And so when you log in and you've had some activity, you'll kind of see this layout every time. And I'll just start up here across the top. So dashboard is just a button that takes me back to this main page, which is our home page. Then I'm logged in as myself, and I can look at my profile and make updates to that. So for example, if I wanted to change, something about my address or other basic information, I can update that there. I can add an account, and I'll walk through that a little bit later. It takes me to the help page and FAQs, where I can ask questions and help guide me to things that I'm curious about. You'll always see your ABLE account number right here. So if you're going to call into the call center, or I should mention, and down here again, because this is a demo system, down in the lower right, you'd see a chat bubble if live chat is available. So if you don't want to talk to somebody, you can click on that button and you'll enter into a chat dialogue with our call center and service representatives, and they'll probably ask you a few questions. You can readily find your account number right here. Across the top in this middle bar, this is the overview page. Again, takes you back to this main page. There's the activity tab, prepaid card, and I know someone did ask about the prepaid card, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Your investments, transfers, so any contributions into or distributions and withdrawals from, or managing those are here, and then settings. Now this settings is a little bit different than profile up here above. Profile, this is for me, Doug, and currently I have one account, but in settings there are also specific details, again, about this specific account, this is Douglas Magnolia's ABLE United account. Now I could be a parent or guardian or an authorized legal representative, and I could have multiple accounts. And if I did, when I went to the dashboard up here, if I click here, I'd see multiple accounts. I'd see Douglas's account, I might see Jim's account, I might see Sally's account, and then I could go into each of those accounts individually and manage them separately. So in this instance, I only have one account. It's my account. I'm the adult beneficiary in this case, and so I'm just seeing my one program. Now there are these tiles that show up here. The first one you see here is your balance. This kind of gives you your total account balance. Then there's a quick summary about your contributions in the current, tax and calendar year, and they're broken out between what are called standard contributions, and it kind of gives you a little reminder that there's an annual standard contribution limit today of $15,000. And then there's also able to work, and it tracks those contributions separately, as that's a separate component that came into effect in the 2018 tax year. And essentially what that allows, if in this case I am an adult beneficiary and I work, I'm able to contribute above the $15,000 standard limit by designating contributions that come from proceeds of the work that I do. So my income from that job, I can contribute in addition to the $15,000 up to a maximum of $12,140, and that specific amount changes each year, and it's a number that's published by the government. The system will update that for you. But the idea is that you can easily track how much you've contributed in a given year, what your cap is for standard, and then what your cap is for able to work. Now you may not have able to work contributions that you're eligible for, and then you wouldn't see this if you hadn't made any. I've put some money in for my job, and so I have two different contributions. And there's a little tab here, and you'll see these throughout the site. It'll quickly take you to portions of the main ABLE United homepage where you can find specific information about either contributions or able to work or any other components. So if I just pop back here to the application itself, so the next tile is your goal. And so when you set up your account, we kind of encourage you to set up a goal. What are you saving for? Now that goal, you might want to set up a goal that's short term. Maybe you're saving for an enhancement to your home to help make it more accessible, and that's going to cost some money to do those renovations, and maybe you want to have a short-term goal, or maybe you want to have a long-term goal. It's up to you to pick that. But the reason why we encourage people to set a goal is there's a lot of behavioral science around, particularly around financial behavior, that when you think about and have a specific defined goal, and then you see it on a regular basis, you're much more likely to actually achieve that goal. So it's really a benefit to help people think about why they're using their ABLE account and then help them reach that goal. So in this case, I've set a goal of 10,000, and it's telling me, shows me a little progress bar, and that will keep changing as time goes by. And I've so far contributed $2,400 towards that particular goal. I can edit that goal, increase it, decrease it. I can turn it off if I want to. Those are all managed right here. Then down below are the investments, and you know, this program is really geared towards helping people save and invest where in the past they have been unable to do so. And so there's a number of different investments that the plan offers, and I'll kind of go through those. But here you can see today I only have 2 investments. I have about almost 17% of my balance is invested in the FDIC savings fund, and so that's basically like a bank account. So it earns a rate of return, an interest rate, and it's guaranteed by the FDIC for any losses. Then I also have the rest of my money, 83, 84%, in a growth portfolio, and it kind of shows you my current balances in each of those, and we'll touch base on that in a second too, in detail. The last tile that we always show is gifting. Now, you may not have a gifting page set up yet, but we always encourage people to do so. One of the benefits of this program is that you can get friends and family to contribute to your goal, and it's a great way to kind of, you know, crowdsource helping a person or beneficiary reach their goal and save for their future. And we do that in a fairly seamless way. It's pretty easy to do, and then it also integrates into maybe your social media channels, whether it's Facebook, or you can just distribute links to email, and I'll show you what that looks like. But it shows me, so far I had set a goal of $5,000 for this year. I've gotten 5% of that, and someone's or maybe multiple people have contributed, and I see I've got a $250 contribution from gifts. So now if I'll just keep going from overview, and I'll keep sliding over to the right tab by tab just so you can kind of see each one. So activity is kind of where you go to see what's been happening in your account, and it starts off with a summary page, but then you can kind of drill into specific transactions, and then statements, and then tax forms. So I'll just click on summary here. So if I click on summary, it gives me a rundown of all of the activity that's happening in my account. High level, here's my account balance. And it gives me, so you'll see these little I buttons. So it tells me that I have an available balance of $1,548.15, but a total balance of $2,398.15. So there's a difference. So available balance tells me, there's a little pop-up that tells me what that means, telling me this is what's available for use today, and it doesn't reflect any pending contributions or money that may not have fully settled in my account. And obviously the total, oops, sorry, my mouse is very sticky here. The total tells me it includes my available balance plus any money that's either in hold or pending or hasn't quite settled yet. Now, if I go down a little bit further, it tells me that my current activity, I have $850 here that's in a hold period. And what that means is there's money that's been contributed, but it just hasn't settled yet. So some of that could come in from because it was submitted by a paper check and it takes a few days for that money to settle, or maybe I have a contribution that came in over the weekend and hasn't quite settled in my account. So that's the difference between money that's basically not quite available in my account, but is in the total account, will be shortly. Then it shows recurring activity. So I have 4 recurring monthly contributions, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's just giving me a summary of that. And then here's my account totals. So I had, as you saw on the home page, I had standard contributions equal to $1,800. I have able to work contributions for $600. I haven't made any withdrawals yet, so there's nothing showing here. Earnings, well, when I opened this account and between today, the markets have been generally down, so I'm showing a slight loss in my investment. but that's if I recognize that. And then contributions. So this is since July 22nd. I've had contributions of $2,400. Again, that earnings also talks about my cost basis and any gains just for tax purposes. So if I look a little bit further, if I look at transactions under the activity tab, this will show me, item by item, all the things occurring in my account. So I don't have a lot of activity, but it breaks it up by month. So this is July's activity, and it shows I did have a gift contribution come in on July 29th for $250. You'll see this little plus button under all of these. So if I click on that, that'll expand and it'll show me all of the details. So for example, this gift came in from my Uncle Dave, and he sent me a happy birthday, congratulations gift of $250. But it also shows where that money went. So I bought $250 of the growth portfolio, which is one of my investment options. And it tells me very specifically that I bought 18.587 units and the price at $13.45. That was the price on July 29th. And I can print those details. It'll send a receipt, if you will, to the printer. Other things that I can do on the activity page is that I can download the data here into a CSV file, which I could open in Excel if I wanted to, do work on that or manipulate or sort it. I can also filter any data in my activity feed. I can pick a time frame, either all time, last 12 months, etc. I can pick a custom set of dates. I can filter by type of activity, contributions, gifts, or able to work. This could be helpful around tax time or for other reporting purposes. Then statements. Now, again, this account has only just been opened, so I don't have any statements available yet, but if I did, they'd show up organized by year and by quarter, so you'd see them. You could click on it. It'd be a PDF form that would display on your screen. Then if you wanted to, you could print it or save it to a file if you need to, but they'll always be here. Same thing for tax forms. In this case, again, I don't have any tax forms available, but if I did for, starting in probably February of 2020, I'll see my 2019 tax forms here. So card, nothing here yet, and so I know there was a question about the availability of the prepaid card. And I think we're expecting that card to be available in the fourth quarter of this year. And so this will be a helpful tool where it's a card. It'll look like a credit card. It doesn't act like a credit card, but it's a prepaid card, and there's a specific reason why they're called prepaid. You take money out of your ABLE account and you load it onto that prepaid card, and you'll do that either through the card tab or under the transfers and withdrawals tab. And you can put specific amounts, so you could load it with, $200 or $500. And the purpose of that is then you can use the card to charge or pay for eligible expenses, and you'll have a separate record of all of those expenses again. So if you ever needed to demonstrate to someone all of the expenses that you used for out of your Able United account, you'd have a ready tool to print and filter those details, where you purchased and how, if you had to justify that it was a qualified expense. But the other thing is that it also acts as a bit of a mitigation, because if you only are loading a certain amount of money onto the card, you're limiting risk of loss or theft, et cetera, as opposed to a debit card, which is linked to the full balance of an account. So it provides a little bit more control over how the cards are used, and gives you a little more reporting tool and a little bit of protection from loss and theft. But that'll be coming in the fourth quarter, and there'll be some communications coming out from the plan to everybody with more details about that later on this year. And you'll have plenty of time in advance of when it's available, so you'll be ready to take advantage of that. On the investments tab, so obviously this is an important portion of why you have an ABLE account. These accounts are great because they provide a tax benefit to everybody. So it'll give you very summary information here in this first tile of your total balance, any returns, and as I mentioned, the last couple of weeks, the market's been a little bit down, so you're seeing a little bit of a loss here. But then it gives you the detail. So I only have 2 investments so far. I have an investment in the growth portfolio, and I have an investment in the FDIC savings fund. So I can look at the details of these, and this takes me back to the marketing website, and it'll kind of bring up in this growth portfolio, there's a description of what this is. So this growth portfolio has a higher percentage of underlying investments in the equities market because we're looking for growth and higher returns. And it tells me what that fund is made up of, and that's made up of, in this case, these 3 underlying investments. There is a Vanguard Total Bond Market Index, which is 20% of the portfolio. There's a Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, which is 55% of the portfolio, and the iShares International Index Fund at 25%. So if I wanted to look more deeply at what these are, if I click on the Vanguard Total Stock Market on the right here, it pulls up the stock symbol. So if I wanted to look that up on Yahoo Finance or something to do more research, but it also gives you some overview summary about the average returns, the fees of this particular investment, and then what the returns have been over a period of time. And it can take you out to Vanguard's site if you wanted to look at the detailed prospectus for that investment. Takes you right to that site, and again, you can print these or just review it online, etc. So if I just go back to my investments page, let's say I wanted to add to my investment options here, or maybe change my investments, I can hit this change strategy. So now under the law, the 529 tax law, you're able to change your strategy only twice per year, but you could add an additional strategy any number of times that you want. And so right now, what constitutes a strategy here as far as the IRS is concerned is that I have 2 investments, a growth portfolio, that's strategy 1. FDIC is strategy 2. So if I wanted to add another option, I can click on the change strategy, and I can, where's my little, this is just a change. So I could say I want to adjust $500 out of this and put $500. I don't have that much money, so I can't quite do that. Okay, I can do that change. I'm not going to do that change. I could also add money individually. So if I wanted to add money right to this one, and this is also under the contributions tab too, where do I want to take the money from? So if this is me, I'm putting money in. I've already linked a bank account, and when you register your account, there will be a way for you to fairly easily add a bank account without you having to find your bank's ABA number, and I can add a new account. So for example, if I wanted to add a second account, and maybe I'm a parent or guardian, or maybe I'm an authorized legal representative, and I want to have my account linked, but also maybe I want my spouse, or maybe I want to have my beneficiary's bank account linked. I can set up a new bank account, and I can pick from one of the banks here listed. So for example, I could pick from Bank of America, and I would log in to my B of A account, and it's going to automatically bring in and connect our system to the Bank of America system, so that when I choose Bank of America to either put money into or take money from, it'll do that automatically in the background, and I don't have to take any other actions. But if I just go back to contributions here, and let's say I'm going to take money out of my Chase account, I can make a one-time contribution, or I can do a recurring monthly contribution. So I just want to put in today some more money. I'll say this is a standard contribution. I'm not going to take money from my paycheck because I've already put the amount that I can this month in. I'm going to put from a standard contribution, I'm going to put in, let's say, $25 into my growth portfolio. I'm going to add another $15 to my savings account. and I want to put some money into a new investment. So I'm going to look at all the different investment options again. And so here's where you can kind of learn from the Able United homepage about all the different investment options. So there's the conservative option, a moderate option, and a growth option. So right now, and the FDIC option. So right now I'm in the growth option. So if I go down a little bit further, there's also the money market fund option, which is the Florida Prime option. And I can also pick individual funds. So there's the bond fund by Vanguard. There's a stock fund, an international fund from BlackRock. So I've got all these different options. And currently today, as you saw, I just have an FDIC option and a growth option. So if I really wanted to add something new, maybe I want to add a little bit more international exposure, and I want to add the BlackRock. So I can learn more information and go to the BlackRock investment website. But here it gives me some general information about this particular fund and also shows me a little bit about the risk tolerance of each of these investments. This is a little more risky, and so it's more aggressive. U.S. stock funds still a little aggressive, but a little less so. And obviously the bond fund is even less, a little more conservative. Money market fund, extremely conservative. Cash being the most conservative option of them all. So I can make my decision after that, and let's say I like that international stock fund. I'm going to add that to my portfolio, and I want to put $100. So I'm going to add that in here. So now it's showing I'm going to add 25 to my growth portfolio, 15 to my FDIC option, and now this new investment of $100 into the international stock fund. So my total is $140. Now, if I don't really want to do that, I can click remove and just not do it, but I really like that idea, so I'm going to add that. It's going to calculate those information. It's going to give me a little bit of a summary page. I can kind of review all the things I'm going to do, because what's going to happen is when I hit complete, it's going to automatically set up a deduction, an ACH transfer from my JP Morgan account for the $140. So it's going to send out a message to JP Morgan. JP Morgan's going to send the money to us, and it's going to qualify this as a standard contribution, not an able to work contribution. And then I'm going to put money into each of these investments at these dollar amounts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now in the background, those trades and instructions are all taking place between us and the different banks, and then through the different mutual funds, bank accounts that are represented in both the growth portfolio, the FDIC fund, and the BlackRock fund. So now here it takes me back to my activity feed, and you can see I've got a pending contribution of $140. So it's not settled yet because I've only just done this now. It'll probably take 2 to 3 days depending on how quickly the ACH happens with Bank of America. But it's showing, confirming where that money is going to go. So when I log in, maybe on Thursday or Friday, I'll see now that this trade has settled. And when I look back at my overview page, I'll see that in my investments tab, so I've got 3 investment options. Most of the money is invested, but I've still got, I now have this pending trade with my international stock fund. So I just had these 2 before, and now it added another tile, which is for this international stock fund. So we touched a little bit on transfers. I'm just going to go back to transfers for a minute. So as I look at transfers, we talked a little bit about contributions. Withdrawals, I'll just touch on briefly here too. Obviously, that's part of why this program is important, is for using the funds that are in the account. So until the prepaid card becomes active later on this year, often the easiest thing to do and the least expensive thing to do is to just transfer money back to the linked bank account or back to a beneficiary's bank account, and then they can use their bill pay or debit card that's associated with that bank account to pay for goods and services, etc. So I can add a new bank account here as well. If I want to send a check, a paper check, either for more than $15,000 or if it's to a third party, Unfortunately, today you have to do that through a paper form. We're working on bringing this functionality into the application itself, and that'll be available probably sometime in early 2020, but we'll certainly let you know when that is going to come about as well. But the form is designed to be pre-fillable, so it's at least a little bit easier to do. So I can choose the type of withdrawal I want to make. So I want to send a check to a third party, and it tells me I have to complete steps 2, 3, 5, and 6. And so I would go through and type into the form all of my details and go ahead and send that in to us, and then we'll process that as quickly as possible. I can also manage, and this is really for my monthly contribution, so I haven't shown you that, but in my activity I had, if I just go back over here to my transactions, you can see I have contributions here of $300. This is from a regular contribution that's going to happen every single month. And so if I want to look at those and manage them, I just click on this Manage button under the Transfers tab here. So it shows I've got monthly transfers that are going to occur. $400 is a standard contribution. It's going to go into my growth portfolio on the 10th of every single month. So again, I don't have to do anything. The 10th will come up and my bank will automatically be debited, and that money will automatically get invested into this growth portfolio. I also have another standard contribution for $100 that's going to go into my savings account, and that's also on the 10th. So my bank account will get debited for $500 on the 10th, and the money will get split $400 and $100 into each of those two options. I also have another standard contribution that I put in to that growth portfolio that's going to happen on the 26th of the month. And now one more for $50 also on the 26th. So again, on the 26th of the month, I'll have $150 debited from my bank account, and it'll be split into those two options. Now I can turn these off by clicking the X right here. I can add a new one that maybe is going to go into an able to work contribution or might go into my new investment, but this is where you would manage your monthly contributions. So that, I think, is sort of gifting. I didn't show you the gifting page. So here on the right on your home page, your gifting, it's showing that I've had $250 for gifting. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I have a gifting page already set up, but if you didn't, you'd still come to a page that looks very much like this, and it kind of describes the gifting process and walk you through a couple of steps to set up your gifting page. And what that is, it's a dedicated web link and page for this particular account that's yours and yours only. And it allows you to share that link, this link right here, you can kind of see this code, through Facebook, Twitter, or through whatever your email client is. And what that means, and I'll show you what that looks like. This is a demo of what that page is. I could send an email to my friends and family, or I could share it to my close friends on Facebook. Maybe I want to talk about my beneficiary's birthday, or maybe they just had an achievement at school or something, and I want to share that news. But also, it's a great opportunity for people to contribute. Maybe it's a birthday, or maybe it's a holiday, etc. So this is what, if I was on the receiving end, whether I clicked on the Facebook page or the Twitter link, or I got an email from my friend, this is what I would see when I would click on it. So if I want to make a contribution, it tells me a little bit about gifting, and it shows that I'm only 5% of my goal here. I can make a contribution. So now me as the receiver of this is what I'd say. I'm going to say it's holiday. Say it's from Sally. I'm going to give $100, and I can either use a bank account or a debit card. So if I use my there we go. So if I'm going to use debit card has a fee for processing from a third party. It's not through us. If you do through the bank account, there's no fee. So a lot of people use the ACH, but some people like the debit card because it's secure as well. You can also fill out a paper form if you don't feel like doing it online. You can download the form it in, and then that will process. Might take a little bit longer, but it will process over 5 to 10 business days or so once we receive it. So if I make that gift of $100, it'll ask me to kind of fill in my banking details, and I'll do that, and then when I look at my activity fee, later on it'll show that I received a gift from Aunt Sally. Congratulations. I'm not going to go through all these details, but you need to find your routing number, your account number, fill in some basic information of you, the gifter, phone number, what your relationship is, family, friends, and your address. And that's really for fraud and other security purposes. So I'm going to stop right there, John, and go back to the overview. And I've covered a lot of ground, and maybe I'll ask Rachel if there are any questions on either this or any questions about the program overall.
Yeah, real quick, Doug. First of all, thank you. I think that was really well done. It really gave an insight of what an account looks like if you wanted to manage it. Maybe you're thinking about having an account or you currently have an account and learn something new. Could you do real fast a transfer or withdrawal? I think this is a unique feature that we've recently added when we went over to Someday. If you do a withdrawal, you actually get to select the type of investment you want to withdraw from, correct?
Yeah, so if I go back over to my transfers and withdrawals here. So let's say I'm going to send money back to my linked bank account. So now here it's interesting, right? I had my growth portfolio, and it tells me what my available balance is. It has my FDIC savings account. I have an available balance of $300 here. It's also showing my international stock fund, which we just purchased today, but available balance is 0 because that hasn't settled. So I don't have the ability to take money out of that account. So if I want to just take money out of my savings account, I can just take $50 out and leave my investment alone, and that would be fine. Or maybe I wanted to take $100 out of here and $50 out of my FDIC account. And so my total withdrawal would be $150. So you're right, you have that ability to kind of pick where you want to take your money out of instead of it just coming out pro rata across the board. So again, I click on review. It gives me a summary page. Make sure that look at that. I still have a hold on one of these accounts because I think I changed my bank account details.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great, Doug. I think that really allows people to kind of separate if they want to set up their ABLE account to be strictly a savings account or an investment account, or maybe both. And so it really allows that feature. So that's great. So this time I'm going to see if we have any additional questions. Go ahead. This is a great time if you have additional questions to go ahead and use that chat box, that questions box, to put in any additional questions you may have. I know I see a couple coming in now. One, thought this was interesting, and I know I saw this too when I was assisting an individual enroll in their account. It says, my bank is Chase also. However, when they started to create the account and link the account, it popped up as Washington Mutual instead of Chase.
Yep.
And can you explain a little bit about why that might occur for some people?
Sure. So it's kind of funny that the banking world has been changing over the past 15 years in particular, and there have been a lot of mergers and acquisitions of different banks, and Chase had acquired, JP Morgan in particular had acquired Washington Mutual a number of years ago during the credit crisis, actually. And so while your bank today is Chase, your original bank might have been Washington Mutual, and the ABA number, a lot of times the Chase and Washington Mutual haven't gotten their act together to work with the Federal Reserve Bank to consolidate ABA numbers. It just takes some time. So the system, the ABA number that comes up is linked back to that original bank. It's still Chase. It just shows up sometimes as one of the predecessor institutions. At some point, the banks will clean up that inconsistency with the Federal Reserve, and the routing numbers will all tie out. But it's still your bank account. It is a little confusing, of course, because it's disconcerting to see, well, that's not my bank. But 9 times out of 10, that's the issue, is that one bank acquired the other bank.
Yep. That's a great question. Looking at some of the other questions is another question regarding Social Security. What exactly doesn't count towards Social Security? So generally, funds in an account and withdrawn from account do not count as towards that Social Security resource limit. Once again, once these accounts, if they grow to above $100,000, any money above that would count as a resource. And then if you're taking money out of the ABLE account and you're either using it for a non-qualified, and you retain it past the end of the month, and you're using it for a housing-related or non-qualified disability expense, that would also count as a resource. But let's say, once again, I recommend looking at the Social Security POMS manual. If you are on SSI and have an ABLE account, they do a really great job of laying out what they look at. They even provide several examples that you might find yourself in when using an ABLE account and taking money out of the account. So definitely recommend people checking that out. Looking through some of the questions here. Can I withdraw money from a special needs trust and deposit it into my ABLE account? That is a great question, and I usually recommend there's a way to review previously recorded webinars. You can go to our website to access those. But yes, it goes back to how your special needs trust is drafted. But we often see quite frequently a lot of special needs trusts, third parties specifically, sending in funds on an annual basis to an ABLE account to allow that individual more flexibility and freedom and less burdensome work for the trustee of a special needs trust account. So that's a high-level way that yes, just really goes back to how that special needs trust was drafted, and then talk to your trustee and an attorney to see if that's a possibility. But we see them working in conjunction quite often. Looking through some of the additional questions. They say, can we go over fees? Does ABLE or Sunday charge fees? That is a good question. And I'm just going to take over the screen real fast. I don't have a screen on the fees, but basically there is no monthly maintenance fee. We do not currently charge a monthly maintenance fee. Each of the investments options does have what they call an investment advisor fee. That's very minimal. You'll see that after performance, and that it just ranges based on the investment options, but it's pennies on the $100. So usually it's 0.029% annualized for our most is the highest. The FDIC option has no fees, so that is an option where there is no fees at all if you're looking at just basically a free account with no fees. And that's all online as well. You can look up our fees and previous historical performance. I see a couple of questions regarding Gardner scholarships. So Doug and team up someday in BNY might not be too familiar with Gardner accounts, but basically a Gardner account high level is a scholarship that individuals with children with disabilities can get to help pay for educational expenses. There is allowable expense that, if there's money left over, they can put that money into a prepaid or college savings account. But please note that there are very strict rules on how those funds are to be used for educational expenses. So you cannot roll over any leftover Gardner scholarship funds into an ABLE account due to the restrictions that a Gardner scholarship has dedicated for strictly educational expenses. All right, I know you addressed this, Doug, a couple times in your presentation, but I know your team is working with the prepaid card. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are shooting for later this year, hopefully Q4.
Correct.
Correct. and managing that account. And as those details come out, we'll be adding a new FAQ section to our website to address those concerns. And I have a feeling we'll probably do another webinar, Doug.
Yeah, I think so.
Specifically talking about the prepaid card, if not just for a short segment. So Q4 would be winter, October through December. Hopefully, I'm assuming you're talking about the calendar year, Doug, and not fiscal year. So
correct.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Looking at some additional questions here. Rachel, do you see any additional questions?
One question that I think is a good one is, can you do just a savings account and no investment?
Yes, Rachel. Yep, you can just do a savings account or the money market account, and you don't need to pick an investment.
Yeah, I think that's a great feature, Doug. I mean, the flexibility allows you to really, truly use this account how you best fit your needs. Whether, if you want to just save for basic living expenses and, you want to put money in and then use it, the next day or weekly, or maybe you're looking for long-term savings and something you want to save for a house or a vehicle or future repairs, that this account can be all of those. So the flexibility is pretty great. So that's a good point. Is there any other additional questions you see, Rachel?
Another thing regarding the prepaid card that we may need some clarification on is, will the prepaid card be automatically mailed out, or will it be a requested item?
Good question, Rachel. It will be optional to the holder, the beneficiary, and the account owner, so they can request it, and then the card would be fulfilled and sent directly to them. But not everybody's required to have one.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
All right, and I have one more question, and then unless you see something else, Rachel, but it says, what is the best place to learn more about qualified withdrawals and expenses? Like I said, the Treasury was pretty broad on how they define qualified disability expenses. And so usually I tell people, the rule of what the Treasury said and what we constantly say is, if the expense relates to the individual with the disability and it helps improve or maintain their quality of life or improve their quality of life, then that would be a qualified disability expense. We often tell people, if you do take money out of the account, being able to keep that record or receipts, as well as a note of how that's a qualified disability expense. So you can think of anything from additional therapies to a modification to a home or a vehicle, for employment, like I said, assistive technology. So I know of a handful of people that have bought it for iPads to help them communicate or to use for school. So all those are qualified disability expenses. Just really stay away from giving money away, using it for alcohol or tobacco or anything illegal would probably be frowned upon as well. So it is pretty broad in how you can go about using that. And then last question, and then we'll move on, and then I'll give you some additional points where you can find additional information as well, how to reach customer service. I saw an account that says, can this account be used by someone who is not employed at all? I know we talked a little high level. Doug showed about able to work contributions that you can do if you're working and not saving for retirement, the ability to contribute more than that $15,000. And just to note that $15,000 is on a calendar year basis, not on a 12-month period. So, if you open up December 1st, you have until December 31st of that year to contribute $15,000. But that amount resets, the amount you can contribute resets at the beginning of each calendar year. But no, yeah, we have a handful of individuals, a good bit of individuals, actually, I would say, that use specifically an ABLE account to help them stay below their resource limit. I had a call yesterday with a person that was a little over $2,000, and they were afraid that their SSI would be cut off, or they could in jeopardy of losing their Medicaid, and so they needed to put, those extra couple $100 over that $2,000 into an ABLE account because they qualified. So that was a good way to do it. But yes, we see people who are currently not employed using an ABLE account. So I just wanted to highlight again that thank you for joining. But if you don't have an account, if you're interested in opening an account, maybe seeing how the account works in itself is a great point. That was the last hurdle you needed to opening an account, and you saw that. But we do have a summer promotion going on. And if you are a new Able United account holder, or if you open an account by the end of tomorrow, you could receive a $50 contribution. And so that promotion is tomorrow. You can check our website for more information on that contribution. So what happens if you still have additional questions? Once again, ableunited.com is our website. We have a ton of information on there, including FAQs. You can look at historical news posts or blog posts, hear from other consumers of Able United accounts and how they use their accounts or what they're planning on using it for. Great wealth of information. You can also reach out to our customer service, 1-888-524-ABLE-2253. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. Eastern, and we also have TTY available for those individuals using that technology. And also, maybe chatting is not on the phone is not your best way of communicating. You want to use live chat. You can look for that little pop-up bubble on our home screen, as well as when you log into your Someday account to chat with customer service. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for taking their morning this time to spend learning more about Able United and how to manage your Able account. Doug, thank you and your team for joining us. I appreciate your effort this morning, and think you did a fabulous job of really educating those individuals that were able to join us.
Thanks, John, and thanks everybody on the line. It's great to be able to share the program.
Wonderful. With that being said, thank you all again. We will make this available on our website, and you should get a link after this presentation of accessing this webinar, as well as a short survey, if you don't mind answering, that helps us on what topics you would like to cover on these webinars. With that being said, thank you all for joining today's webinar, and hopefully Able United will help you save for a better life experience. Thank you.